Hi. So in the previous video, I basically the Omo Queen of Vesuva deck list. I said I had another deck I was building. This is that deck. So this is the deck list for Ulalek Fused Atrocity. I so Eldrazi has been a deck I've enjoyed a lot. It's the whole reason I got into one of the main reasons I got into Magic in the first place. Very good, very good lore behind them, and just the way they work is very fun for me. This deck is in no way near complete. I have, spoiler alert, I have maybe 2 Titans, 3 depending on if you count a specific card as a Titan, out of all of the legal Titans, and I do want to slowly put every legal Titan in this. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. So like the last one, I have split these into certain categories. So for example, the mana reducing creatures, we have the Herald of Kozilek and that heralds the end. We then have a Rampy Eldrazi in the form of Sowing Mycosynth and Glaring Flesh Raker and Writhing Chrysalis, because that is actually also ramp. If you don't know what Ulalek does, I probably should have said to begin with. So Ulalek is a 5 mana commander. It is Wooburg, which is all colours for those who don't know. And instead of having to pay Wooburg to cast it, if you look, it's got those little like half symbols. And that half symbol means you can pay one or the other on each half. And each symbol has a one of each colour, but then it also has the other half be colourless. So you can just put 5 colourless in and you can cast this. And it has the ability of whenever you cast an Eldrazi, you can pay 2 colourless specifically, and you can copy everything on the stack. Which means if you have a cast trigger and then the Eldrazi on the stack, you can then copy that and the cast trigger. And it'll just, like, it does some insane shit. So that's going to be fun. This deck is very fun. So yeah, we have those. Then we have a Flashy Boy in the form of Void Grafter. So for example, if I cast a non-Eldrazi spell but I want a copy of that, I can flash this in while the non-Eldrazi is on the stack, pay 2 mana, I'll copy this and the thing I wanted to copy originally. Then we have a Reality Smasher, which I would class as a smaller Eldrazi. It's still quite good. It has the ward of sacking a permanent, or no, discarding a card. It also has the trample and haste 5/5, decent stats, you know. And then one that I didn't put closer to the Titans, but probably could have, was Azlask. It's 3 mana. It is a 2/2. It doesn't feel right to put it as a Titan, but it has a very good ability of you get an experience counter every time a colourless thing dies, which even the ones with colour have the void, so all of these are colourless, by the way. And you may pay 1 of each colour to have all of your creatures basically in this deck get a 1/1 count, get 1/1 till the end of turn, and trample equal to the amount of experience counters. And then if you have any scions or spawns, they also get Annihilator 1. So if they attack, your opponent has to sack a permanent for every single one of them. It's a very good card. However, its stats kind of make it meh for it actually being a Titan. Next, we get closer to the Titans with a Conduit of Ruin. So Conduit of Ruin will search you any of your Titans and put it to the top of your library. As you can already tell, there are what? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards that weren't in the precon. Yeah. This deck plays out of precon a lot as well. I say as well because the last video also had a lot outside of precon. And also makes all of your creatures cost 2 less if it's your first creature. So your Titans will be cheaper as well. We then have a Devourer of Destiny, which is a card that if it's in your opening hand, you may reveal it. Then on your upkeep, look at the top 5, I think. I'm not going to read it, I can't be asked. Cards of your library. Pick one of them, add it to your hand. The rest get exiled permanently. And then it's just a 6/6 that if it gets cast, you can exile a creature that has a permanent with color. So, very good. Then we go into a first non-Eldrazi, while also actually being Eldrazi, in the form of Morophon. He is in the precon for good reason. He makes all of your colors pips not exist, so it makes it a lot easier to cast things. So yeah, very good boy, very good boy. Also, he's a buffer. He puts a 1/1 on all your Eldrazi's. We then have a territory color, who has the landfall ability of looking at the top card of your library. If it is a creature, you can add it to your hand. Otherwise, you can either leave it there or put it to your graveyard. Very good. And then that's on the body of a 7/5 with reach. So also very good. Bear in mind, all of these creatures that I'm talking about, outside of the legendaries, which is Morophon and Azlask, you can have multiple copies of these at once because of the commander. So every time I hit a land, I can maybe do that twice, 3 times, 4 times. We'll get into that. Then we have Cyrus Stagnation. I love having multiple copies of this out. So it basically says, hey, if your opponent plays a land in general, you get to exile the top 2 or 4. I think it's 2, right? Yeah, exile the top 2 off their library and then draw 2. Obviously, if you have multiple, it stacks. So they exile the top 4, you draw 4. Every time they hit a land, it's very nuts very quickly. Fills up your hand so quick. Next, we have a Hideous Taskmaster, which basically just says, hey, your creature is mine for a turn. I'm going to do silly things with it and have Annihilator trigger. As you can see, we are building into Titan level of creatures, because these are the small boys. We have another 3 kind of smallish boys. We then have a kind of smallie, but he helps get into the biggers. And then we get all the biggers, like all the biggie giant boys. Very good. Very, very good. Then we have a Deep Fathom Skulker, which is, hey, anytime one of your creatures deal damage, draw a card. And bear in mind, again, you can have multiple copies of this, so you can draw 2 or 3 every time a creature deals damage. Drowner of Hope, you can sack a Scion to tap down a creature. Or is it permanent? Yeah, creature. So you just go, oh, I'll sack a Scion. I'll tap down that creature that's about to attack me. Again, you can have multiple of these, and there are ways of making a load of Scions in this deck. So don't sleep on this. This can actually do a lot of work. Then we have ourselves a Benthic Anomaly, which basically gives me a token copy, which matters, you'll see why later, of any creature basically with different stats and different abilities. Basically I say, oh, you've got a Niv Mizzet and you've got a Yargul Multani. Well, I'll have it have Yargul Multani's stats while also having Niv Mizzet's ability. That is basically what that token is now. It's insane. Then we have Null Drifter, which is Mold Drifter but for 7 colourless mana, and is an Eldrazi, and is it devoid? It is not devoid, but it does have Annihilator. And Mold Drifter is, if it comes out, you draw 2 cards, and if you pay like 4 mana, you can evoke it instead. Then we have Spawnbed Protector, which just says, hey, on your end step, return an Eldrazi from your graveyard to your hand and make 2 spawns that equal more mana. Very good, especially if you have multiple, and that way you can just keep recycling your Eldrazi's. Then we have a Twins of Discord that says, hey, choose odd or even. Though creatures of that mana value cannot block your attacks this turn. So again, if you copy this with ulalek, you just go, oh, I'll declare odd and even. Nothing can block now. Smile. Because tokens have mana value of 0, which is if I remember correctly. No, 0 is even, right? I think 0 is even in the case of magic. I could be wrong. Then we have Ulamog's Dreadsire. Basically, just make a big 10/10 Eldrazi each time. Artisan of Kozilek. You get to basically revive any creature in your graveyard. So, oh no, you destroyed my spawn bed protector. That was giving me all of this extra mana and creature revival. Anyway, I'll play a Artisan of Kozilek and just revive it. Smile. We then have an Ulamog's Crusher, which is just a big boy that has Annihilator. And it has to attack. I feel like I'm going to just pile these now. Because it's getting there. We still have creatures to go, it's just... Oh boy. So then we have our Pathrazer of Ulamog. Just a big Annihilatory boy. Flayer of Loyalties, which is a big Annihilatory boy that just steals something and also turns it into a big Annihilatory boy for a turn. Again, that's on cast, so if you copy it with ulalek, you get it twice. Very good. You then have an It That Betrays. Hey, you know all that Annihilator I've been swinging around and you've been sacking a lot of things. They're mine now. Very stupid. And then we get into what I would class as the titans of the deck. So we have Zulodok, aka my playmat. I class Zulodok as a titan, even though in Magic lore he is not a titan. I would class him as a titan due to his ability, how good he is. His stats aren't the greatest, but the fact that he is basically a mainstay in the command zone for these sort of decks means that I would technically class him as a titan myself. But then we go into the official titans of Kozilek the Great Distortion and Emrakul the World Anew. The only two titans that are somewhat affordable outside of the new Kozilek that just came out, and I am thinking of buying that soon, but for now it's not here. So Kozilek Great Distortion is, hey, draw until you have 7. At any time I can now discard cards and like negate any thing that has that same mana value, Smile. And then Emrakul is just, hey, I'm just taking all your creatures now. Whoopsie doopsie. But if you think only creatures can set off Ulalek because they are Eldrazi's, you're wrong. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 things that are not creatures but are tribal Eldrazi, therefore will actually trigger Ulalek. One of which being Echoes of Eternity, which basically says, hey, I'm doubling season for all of your Eldrazi's and their abilities. So, hey, you activated Zulodok. Well, guess what? You get it again. You've cast literally any Eldrazi, you get a copy of it. So if you get 2 of these, that is double. So if you cast a Soul Ring, you get 5 Soul Rings by having 2 of these out. It is bananas. And bear in mind, everything is a token, so we will get into token shenanigans later, you'll see. But yeah, that will set off Ulalek, and you can instantly copy this. Another one is Order's Dust is actually a tribal for Eldrazi 2. So you will get you can double your Order's Dust if you want. Or you could just say, hey, I'm going to cast this and copy it to make sure you don't negate it, basically. Make it a lot harder to negate stuff. Another one is Eldrazi Conscription, which is very funny because it just goes, hey, double this with Ulalek. I even now have a 20/20 Annihilator 4, or I can just go, I put 10/10 Annihilator on this, 10/10 Annihilator on this. Very funny thing to copy. And then we also have Eldritch Immunity is an Eldrazi instant that basically says, hey, I'm a protection spell that can be overloaded. But you don't have to overload it, you can just pay the 1 and then the Ulalek cost and all of this, and you'll get enough protection that you probably don't need to do that, but you can if you want. And arguably I think Echoes of Eternity should be at the top there. Next we go into the haste enablers, well, the flash enablers, because again, if you can flash an Eldrazi, you can copy literally anything in the deck. So we do run the Vidalcan Ori and the Leyline of Anticipation. just so we can go, hey, everything has flash. I'm going to flash in this really cheap Eldrazi and copy my big spell. Also, I'm playing on your turn now. Next, we have the... I like to call them value. So we have Ancient Stirrings to look at the top 5, grab a colourless card, which can include land, because land is colourless. So you are basically grabbing anything from your top 5 with this, which is quite nice. We have Darksteel Monolith, which if you do manage to copy this with Ulalek and Echoes of Eternity, they do stack, so you can go, right, for this Darksteel Monolith I'll cast this for free, for this Darksteel Monolith I'll cast this for free. Very good thing to have copies of. Next we have an Eldrazi spell in the form of Rise of the Eldrazi. Doesn't have Tribal Eldrazi. Kind of sucks, but to be fair it would be kind of broken if it didn't. And it's just, hey, take an extra turn, draw 4 cards, destroy permanent. That's the reason it's 12 mana. Then we go into the value in the form of the enchantments of Kozilek's Unsealing, which allows us to get mana or card draw. Then we have Path of Annihilation, which gives us mana initially, gives us colour fixing, and also gives us life if we cast a certain type. And then we go into a non-Eldrazi enchantment that helps, which is Song of the World Soul. Remember when I was talking about token synergies? Here it comes. So Song of the World Soul says, hey, anytime you cast a spell, populate any creature token. So you know that Ulamog's Pathrazer that you made a copy of with Ulalek? That Ulamog's Crusher is now going to have another copy come in every time you cast a single spell. Very insane. Under the same thing, Doppelgang. So you know that Darksteel Monolith I was talking about earlier that you can make multiple copies of and get multiple free things. Imagine having 5 copies of it with a Doppelgang. And then we also have a second harvest, which is every token that's on the board, I get another token of it. It doesn't specify creature token, it just says token. So again, a non-creature permanent that has a token copy due to Ulalek or Echoes of Eternity, I just get more of them. Then we have Reflections of Littjara, which will give us token copies of all Eldrazi just statically. A Kindred Discovery that will allow us to draw a card every time one enters or attacks. And probably one of the most expensive cards in the deck. I did manage to pick up a One Ring for the helping me draw a ton of cards ability. So, very nice. Managed to get it for fairly cheap actually, because the guy was selling just really wanted a sale, and you know what, I haven't told him that I have, but I definitely have played a little less strongly in games against him because I feel like I owe him for this, because goddamn, I got it for like half price. Then we get into the rest of it. So we have obviously the Soul Ring Arcane Signet, but then we also have a Fran Dynamo for artifacts and a Talisman. So these are all of the mana ramp artifacts. But if we're talking about mana ramp, we have to bring in Awakening Zone, which gives us Eldrazi every turn that's sacked for mana, and even this Planeswalker Ugin, because it makes all of our colour spells, which I cannot state this enough is 90% of our deck, cost 2 less just by existing. So therefore I class it as a ramp of a sort. Then we have the removal spells. We have Warping Whale to remove and counter. We have Calamity of the Titans to just remove in general. We have an Ugin's Binding, which is a removal like targeted, or a Cyclonic Rift if it's in the graveyard. We have a selective obliteration that basically says, hey, stop playing things with colours and multicolours. Declare one of your colours, you only get all the single colours of that and colourless. So normally I'm probably choosing blue for like my reflections, my ley line, etc. because everything else has the void. Then we have our counter spell that's also removal in Null Elemental Blast, which is counter multicolored or destroy multicolored. And then the last bit of removal is Imprisoned in the Moon, because even though it doesn't destroy it, it basically makes it completely useless. So that's how I've gotten rid of commanders before. Next is a very fun card that has its own section because how stupid it is. Mana Maze. So, if you don't know what Mana Maze does, if you cast a spell with any color, so if you cast a blue spell, a red spell, a blue and red spell, you cannot cast until your very next spell that turn cannot have the same colors. So if I cast an Izzet spell which is blue and red, I can't just cast a blue spell. I can't just cast a red spell. I can't cast a Wooburg spell. I have to cast something that doesn't have red or blue in it. All of this is the void, and mostly colorless, so this really does nothing to me, but it kills mono players, and it really hurts even the non-mono. I'm just going to do a lot of like things that are similar players, like Rakdos players, etc. Next we have the obvious infinite combo of Basalt and Forsaken Monument. I mean, is it really an Eldrazi deck if you don't include that? Let's be fair. Then we go into lands. We have two non-basics that are different to all the others, which is Stomp and Drowner of Truth, because they are, you guessed it, MDMSCs or whatever they're called. Basically, they are lands on the back, spells on the front. So Drowner of Truth is actually an Eldrazi creature, which is funny. And then Stomp is, hey, I'm just going to deal a lot of damage to you, because this Eldrazi has high power. Then we go into the lands. So, for the lands, we have all the non-basics of the Searchers, which is Ash Barrens, Tranquil Landscape, and Twisted Landscape, all of which are searches for a different way. So this one sacks for any of the three colours down here. This one sacks for any of the three colours down here. So this one is red, green, black. Red, green, black. This one is green, white, blue. And Ash Barrens is you can just discard it by paying the mana cost, and you will search at any basic, or it comes in as a colourless tap source. Next we have the Pain lands in the form of, and you'll be able to tell which lands they tap for just by looking at the colours. So we have, this one, I can't read its name upside down now. Sulphurous Springs, we have Shivan Reef, we have Llanowar Wastes, we have Battlefield Forge, we have Caves of Kolios, we have Kaplusian Forest, we have Brushland, we have Underground River, we have Yavimaya Coast, we have Darkar Wastes, and that is it for the Painlands. Painlands are, you can tap it for one colour or the other colour, but you have to pay life to do that. And if you don't pay the life, you don't get the colour, you just get colourless. Talking of colourless, we have Eldrazi Temple, obvious reasons. We have Spawning Bed, obvious reasons. Bonder's Enclave, which is draw a card for if you have a creature that's power 4 or greater, for obvious reasons. This one that just says Ruins of Oran Reef, I think it is. And it is, you could just put a 1/1 counter on a creature in the battlefield this turn, or tap for colourless. Tomb of the Spirit Dragon, which gains a life for each colourless creature you control. We have Opal Palace, which adds colourless, or it if you put 1 mana into it and tap it, it adds 1 mana of any colour, and then you put a 1/1 counter on it for each time it's cast from the command zone if it's your commander. You have Secluded Courtyard, that basically says declare creature type, you can add any colour mana for it. Same with this Unclaimed Territory. Corrupted Crossroads basically says pay a life to get any colour, but you can only cast something with the Void with it, or colourless. Cascading Cataracts is colourless, or you can put 5 into it, tap it, and get any 5 colours, which is basically you lose 1 mana, but you can choose whatever colours you want. Then you have Temple of the False God, which is just 2 colourless mana, but you have to have 5 lands. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, which is 1 colourless or 2 colourless that can only be spent to cast colour spells, and you can only do it if you have 7 or more lands. Reliquary Tower, colourless but you have no hand size. Command Tower, which is just Wooburg. Path to Exile, which is Wooburg, but you get to scry 1 if you cast something that shares a type with your commander, which is 90% of the deck as Eldrazi. Exotic Orchard, which can attack for any color that your opponents have. Temple of Mana, Temple of Malady, that attacks for black or green specifically, and you scry one. And then we have for the basics, we have one of each basic, including wastes. Oh, you can't see that from there, can you? Including wastes. Because if your opponent says, hey, I'm going to Swords to Plowshares you, or Path to Exile, I can't remember which one it is, you can search for a basic land. I now have basic lands I can search. Also, it means Ash Barrens can tap for any, basically give me any mana color, which is kind of important when you're trying to, I don't know, cast some spells that have color pips, which feels like it goes against what Eldrazi are supposed to do, but it also doesn't. So that is how I built my Ulalek. Now, as I said in Omo, this is a deck that is constantly getting upgraded and updated and whatnot, like all of my Magic decks. So I will put a link in the description that is my Moxfield list for this, which will be consistently updated as the deck gets updated. Therefore, if you see this video and go, oh, I wonder how he built it if he managed to get the Titans, or I wonder how he built it now that this new Eldrazi got reprinted or printed, or I wonder how he built it when people told him, haha, I hate you, or how he built it when the One Ring is now cheaper, or how he built it when the One Ring was banned, and you know, you basically can keep up to date with everything this deck is now. So hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to annoy your friends with this deck, and the previous ones. Omo is also very annoying, and that will be the only two I upload today. I might do some more during the week. If I do, look forward to those lists. I've got a couple in mind that I might do a deck list video for, because they are very fun to play. With that being said, have a good rest of your day and peace out.